In this video, we're going to talk about simplifying rational exponents. And as you know what that means, rational exponents is exponents that are fractions. Look at our first example here. We have 16 to the 3/2. So 16, as you know, is called the base. And then 3/2 is the exponent. And you can see that that's a fraction. And so I want to tell you what the numerator and the denominator of this fraction represent. So the denominator, the 2, that's going to be the index on your radical. Okay, so if the index is 2, then you know that means that we're taking a square root, right? So the index is 2 on a radical. We are taking a square root. Then 3, we're going to call that the power. So there's 2 ways to think of 16 to the 3/2. One way is to think that we're taking the square root. So again, remember that that came from the 2 in the denominator of the exponent. That's the index that would go here on this radical. When it's a 2, we don't write it in, right? Okay, so there's like a little invisible 2 there, right? 16 is the base, and then we are cubing that. So that comes from here, right? The index went there, the power went here, and 16 is the base. So we could actually evaluate this in our heads, although I am going to show you how to use the calculator. The 2 is the index on the radical, the 3 is the power, 16 is the base. So we could do this in our heads, right? Because we know that the square root of 16 is 4, and then we're going to cube that, and that's going to give us a 64. Or sometimes you may want to take the power first and the radical second. So 16 cubed first, and then take the square root of that answer. That's a big number, right? So in this case, you would probably choose the first method if you didn't have your calculator. I'm going to actually show you how to do this in the calculator. Okay, so let's go over to the calculator. Okay, so first of all, let's just do the 16 cubed. And if we take the square root of that, then there's our 64, right? So see how we got the square root of 4,096, which is 64. So you got the same 64 both times. In this method, we took the square root first, then cubed it. And in this method, we cubed first, then took the square root of the answer and got 64. In your calculator, you can input the base, and then you can do your caret here for your exponent. And there's a alpha y. If you do that, you may get this menu that has the fraction in it. So you can then put in here the 3, use the down arrow and go to the 2, and then hit enter, and there's your 64, right? Number 2. So again, 125 is your base. In your radical, you're going to this time do a cube root, and then you're going to square the answer. And the cube root of 125 is 5, and 5 squared is 25. And so I could do that one in my head, right? But you can also use your calculator. All right, let's go to the next one. 3. Now this time there's a little negative sign there. So 36 to the negative 3/2. From our exponent rules, we know that a negative exponent means reciprocal. So I'm going to write 1 over 36, keep the base, and just change that 3/2 to positive. Because remember, the negative exponent means that you're going to take a reciprocal, and that allows you to change the exponent to a positive exponent. That means that that's 1 over the square root of 36. So there's your index, right? Square root. And then you're going to cube that. So that's 1 over 6 cubed. And 6 cubed is what? 216. Okay, 1 over 216. 64 to the negative 4/3. So again, 1 over 64 to the positive 4/3. So that's 1 over the cube root of 64. And then we're going to go to the 4th power. And the cube root of 64 is 4. So 1 over 4 to the 4th, 256. So 1 over 256. Okay. Now I'll show you that we can do this, even the negative exponents in your calculator. So 64 to the negative 4/3. Uh-oh, and it gave me the decimal, so I'm going to go to the math menu and hit enter, and there's 1/256. Okay, perfect.